Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's video. A little over a month, somewhere in December, I posted a Q&A request video and just couldn't find that time before to respond back to you. So I hope whoever commented on that video is still around my channel to watch my response. Thank you all for taking the time to comment on that video and posing all of those questions. There's been some great things to cover in this video, so I prepared myself, I wrote everything down, and I hope I can, give you the answer that you were looking for. First things first, my scent of the day check, of course. We cannot skip that part. I am wearing Polo Green, the classic fragrance where Ralph Lauren is known for. Actually, they got a couple of great new fragrances as well, but this one is just an amazing sandalwood green fragrance, really masculine in my opinion. So this is what I am wearing today. All right, first question. I'm going to start this list off with Fernando Gonzalez, and Fernando asks me, what do you think about the expiration date of perfumes? Well, fragrances expire. That's a thing that is something that we don't want to hear as a fragrance collector, because if you have a lot of fragrances, there's no way, to ever use all of them within a couple of years. The best thing you can do is keep them out of direct sunlight, keep them away from heat and moisture. So probably the worst thing that you could do is keep them in the bathroom. In general though, I would think seeing what they put on the boxes, like 12, 24, 36 months, that's just marketing, guys. That's just, if you keep them outside of sunlight like I do, keep them in a closet, in a cool environment, they will last 10 to 20 years, who knows. Maybe the top notes will diminish just a little bit over time, but they will be still great. I have a fragrance. This one is probably the oldest one I have. This is from 1990 and it still smells amazing. I have Kuros from the 90s as well, who also still smells amazing. So expiration date, yes, it is going to expire, but keeping it in the right conditions will definitely make it last like 10 to 20 years, if not more. So that's that. And the second question Fernando asks me is, what do you think about the reformulation of classic perfumes? Another, hot topic for us collectors. We hate the word reformulation because in general, if something gets reformulated, it's not for the better. So with classic perfumes, there's a lot of great fragrances that have been butchered, in my opinion. And so sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. I really don't like reformulations. The third question is, what classic perfume is currently reformulated that you would recommend? And so this is basically an extension of the second question. And from my collection, I would still recommend Guerlain's Mitsuko, which is a fragrance that has been on the market for so many decades, still smells amazing, still has great longevity and projection, and the depth and quality is still here. So this one, if you like fruity floral chypres, this is definitely a fragrance that I would recommend to you. So I hope that covers your questions, Fernando. Let's go on to the second comment, and this was by Kravis123. He asks me, number one, what feminine or unisex perfumes do you love? I will just put a link up here so you check it, so you can check out my video on this specific topic. I have done a top 10 video on unisex fragrances, designer and niche, that I really adore. So I'll put a card in the corner so you can check that one out if you're interested. Second question by Kravis is, have you ever smelled something from Robert Piquet or Miller Harris? Yes, I have. From Robert Piquet, I smelled quite a few. I smelled Bois Noir, I smelled Bandit, and we personally have Fracas by Robert Piquet. This is, of course, one of the most iconic tuberose bombs ever created. A beautiful, a stunning fragrance that I wear once in a while. It smells amazing on women, but in my opinion, this is something irresistible for me. It's a great, classic, timeless fragrance, and probably the best from Robert Piquet. Miller Harris itself is a brand that I have sampled in the past, but for some reason I found his creations to be quite simplistic in a way. They didn't have much depth and changing experience in the dry down. I mean, the note pyramid wasn't that thrilling to me from what I've smelled. Maybe I should resample them again because it's been a while, but Miller Harris is not a brand that really got my interest, so to say, in the past. And the third question by Kravis, Italian or French perfumes? This is really difficult, Kravis, because as you guys know, I really like my Italian perfumes. I like Perfume Roma, I like Zerjov, Sospiro and so on. I like another one that you mentioned in a further question, Lorenzo Villoresi, is also a great Italian house. So, but the thing is with perfumery in general, if you think about perfumes, fragrances, they originally were the craftsmanship of France, you know. It's basically France and Paris, the perfume capital of the world, that made fragrances what they are today. And so I might have to say I respect or admire, so to say, French perfumery just a little bit more. But the thing is, with today's offerings, Italian perfumes are, you know, equally as high in terms of quality and creativity and so on. So I just can't answer you that question, and they're just both the best what you can get today. The fourth question is, do you think the perfume market is oversaturated? Definitely. There's so many fragrances that are very, very similar, and this is something that is happening in designer releases for the last couple of years now. It's getting quite annoying, to be honest. They are releasing flankers of flankers of flankers, and there's just no originality anymore. Also, I find personally that they are using too much synthetics now that make them smell quite cheap in general and just uninspiring. It's like a lot of the releases today are just, they are just after the money. That's my opinion. Of course, there are new releases that are still worth your money and that are still interesting, but in general, I'm quite disappointed with today's releases. Even if we're talking about niche fragrances, a lot of the niche brands also tend to be quite boring with their new stuff, and I'm quite worried, to be honest, that we won't be getting the same type of quality in the future because of how the economy and how the market is changing and how they are just all struggling to earn a dollar. The fifth question you asked me is Impressionism or Cubism art? And this is a fun question because it's not something that, you know, people would generally think about posing as a question on a fragrance related channel. But of course, it's a very cool question because I see perfumes as art. And so it's a very relevant question in that regard. And I think both have their beauty and their place in this world. I think Impressionism is very cool in a sense that they have to be very talented to replicate a certain setting or you know, person or whatever on the canvas. They have to be very talented to make it happen. But at the same time, Cubism is very interesting, and it's probably what I would prefer out of the two, because Cubism is a form of art where they are a little bit more out there and they make it a little bit more hard for us to see what the fragrance, the painting is all about. And so it makes it a little bit more interesting to me, because you have to really look at it and make it sink in for a little bit, and, you know, take it all in and see what the painting is all about. So out of, you know, Impressionism art or Cubism art, I would say I prefer Cubism. Sixth question that you asked me is Luca Turin or the YouTube influencer? And this is another really cool question. First of all, Luca Turin is someone who I quite admire. He is very knowledgeable about perfumes in general. He has a lot of experience. Sometimes he's off, in my opinion. Sometimes he's spot on. But that's just how it is, and we all like different things, so we have to respect that. But in general, he's a very knowledgeable guy. But the YouTube influencer, I really, in the core of my heart, hate that word, influencer. I don't see myself or anyone else who is in this YouTube community as a creator. I don't see myself or anyone else as a influencer. And why I absolutely hate that word is because I really like the idea that you take into consideration what my opinion is on a specific fragrance, but I would really hate it if you would just all go buy something or dislike something based on my opinion solely, you know. I really would like to make very clear that this is just something I do as a hobby, to share my passion for fragrances with you, but it's never my intention to really promote a specific fragrance or brand in any way, and it would be really wrong in a sense that perfumery is art, and for each and every one of you out there, it should be, you know, specific. It should be individual. It should be all about what you like. And so the word YouTube influencer really disgusts me, because that would mean that our opinion as a YouTube fragrance reviewer is basically your opinion. So I would say out of Luca Turin and the YouTube influencer, I would say Luca Turin. Alright, so the next one, again by Kravis, is number 7, Lorenzo Villoresi, one of the greatest perfumers that not so many people know about. Let me hear your opinion. Lorenzo Villoresi is a great Italian fragrance house, and we have one fragrance by Lorenzo Villoresi that is absolutely worth talking about, and that one is the iconic Teint de Neige. And Teint de Neige is a fragrance that I personally don't wear, but I really like to smell this one on my wife. This one is powdery, it's a little bit floral, but it's just, it's almost a gourmand in a sense that it smells edible, it smells very approachable, very delicious, really nice fragrance. I struggled with it in the beginning, because it's a very classic fragrance. It's one that I had to grow to love, but after a couple of times smelling it on my wife, it's just one of those fragrances that I really like. So Lorenzo Villoresi, it's a great house. Third person that I'm covering in this video is Mrs. Press. And so she also had a couple of questions for me. First one is, what is your favorite brand or house? Very difficult question to answer as well, because I have a couple of favorites. And it would probably depend on the day or season that you would ask me. But right now, I would say my favorite house is Sergioff. I mean, they have so many great fragrances. And especially this time of year where you need some heavy hitters. I really enjoy Alexandria too. I really enjoy Alcat and Picovaya Dama. There's just so much great releases by this house that I would say right now I'm picking Sergioff. Maybe if you ask me next month, I would say Guerlain, who knows. So the second question is, who do you consider to be the best perfumer? Now this is again such a difficult question to answer. I have to give you 3 perfumers that I absolutely adore, that I think have been putting out the best fragrances in the fragrance game, in the community, on the market today and in the past. And those 3 fragrance perfumers are Jean-Claude Helena, first of all, because I really enjoy Terre d'Hermès, amongst others that he created. I think he is such a great perfumer. The second one is Chris Maurice, basically the in-house perfumer for Serjov and a couple of other brands he works with as well. But for Serjov, he has done most of their fragrances, and wow, such a stunning perfumer. And then the third one is, of course, Dominique Ropillon, who is known for Portrait of a Lady, but also for so many other fragrances that are iconic masterpieces. Think about La Vie est Belle, think about Alien. Yeah, so many fragrances that he is known for, and just an overall great perfumer as well. All right, the third question: if you could bring back any discontinued fragrance, which one would you choose? Another difficult question. There's so many fragrances, but on the top of my mind, I would say Ralph Lauren Silver Romance. I used to have this fragrance in high school, and it was just so delicious and so comforting and romantic, and it's a shame that he or they discontinued this fragrance. Also, by Armani, Attitude and Attitude Extreme. Those 2 fragrances have a great coffee note. They are very sweet, but at the same time a little bit very spicy actually. But they just have an amazing blend that I miss from Armani. I mean, they have been putting out some great fragrances over the years, but I really think it's a shame that they discontinued the Armani Attitude collection. So next one, what's the worst reformulation that has been done? Again, there's so many bad reformulations, but I'd say just first thing that comes to mind is Le Mal by Jean-Paul Gaultier. I mean, Le Mal is probably the fragrance that was butchered the worst that I can think of right away. It used to be so full and you know, thick and heavy in terms of overall scent. It was very rich. It was also extremely potent. And right now, today, Le Mal is just, it's a scam. It's basically toilet water in the essence of toilet water. It still smells okay, but it's so musky and boring, and it lacks so much quality that it used to have. It's also not projecting anymore. It's basically terrible. Then we have, I'm moving on to the next person. This is Kaisa, and he or she is asking me, I was just curious, how did you start collecting fragrances, and do you think you spent too much money on it? This is a cool question. I started collecting fragrances somewhere 2010, 2011. But I always was very interested in fragrances. When I was 10 or 12 years old, I got my first fragrance from my parents or my grandparents. I can't really remember, but I got my first fragrances from family members, let's say. And so I really enjoyed using them. I didn't have any money myself to buy fragrances, and it wasn't until high school that I just, you know, started buying some fragrances myself, but always using them and then only to replace them with something else. And so it was around 2010 that I was working a couple of years, and I was thinking, hey, maybe I should find out more about the world of fragrances. And I started collecting, and at first I was looking up fragrances on Fragrantica and reading comments and looking at the other YouTube reviewers that were known and back in the day, Robes08, René Zayas, but there's so many great guys that I was following back then, and I still watch some of their videos now today. But those were the guys who really inspired me to find out more about all those great designer scents. And then in 2014 things got really serious when I met my wife. She introduced me to the niche market, and then things got, you know, things got sideways real fast. My collection expanded like crazy. Of course, also her collection is among mine. We share the same fragrances. Of course, obviously, if I'm honest and realistic with myself, I have to agree that this all costs too much money. And so I'm kind of slowing down right now, because I feel like I have so many great fragrances that I probably won't be able to use in my entire life. And I'm going to focus more on quality than quantity. But yeah, it's an expensive hobby, and probably with anything else that you want to do and get serious about, it will cost you a lot of money. Any hobby out there will cost you a lot of money. But yeah, this collection is expensive. Fifth person that I'm going to cover is Wongoloid Wong. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he or she asks, what is your most complimented video? So most complimented video, well, the most watched and commented on video is probably a tie between Terre d'Hermès and everything I do about Creed Aventus. So those two are actually, and also the top 12 most seductive, sexy fragrances for women. I'll put a card right here if you haven't seen it. That one also is extremely popular on my channel. Second question by Wongoloid Wong is, what were the most craziest, sexiest comments about your fragrances? Well, to be honest, I don't really get that much comments on my fragrances, but if I have to think about things that really stuck by, I'd have to say this one. There was one time I wore Interlude Man to work, and I sprayed a couple of times, and now Interlude is really strong. I have the old formulation. I just can't bear more than 2 sprays, but at the time it was quite new to me, and I wore 4 sprays and I went to work. And normally I'm quite by myself. I'm a train driver, so I'm just front driving the train. Nobody is really near me at most of the time in day, but at that moment I was stopping by the office, and there were a couple of colleagues, you know, on the computer and so on, talking to each other. And at some point, and I was quite far away, there was this one guy. He said, "What am I smelling? What am I smelling?" And I could tell from his face he was quite disgusted by that scent. And so I was kind of laughing inside, because I knew it was me. At the same time, I was a little bit embarrassed, because it's never my intention to really offend anyone. I try to limit my sprays so it is suitable for the occasion. But as I mentioned, most of the day I'm by myself, so I didn't really think it would bother anyone. And clearly he wasn't impressed by Interlude Man. I identified myself as the one who was stinking out the place, and we had a laugh afterwards. But yeah, also another thing, another occasion that I remembered, and that was again at the office, and it's also a couple of years ago now. And there was this one guy, and he came in, and we were already there were so many people around me. Nobody said anything. And so there were like 10 or 15 people in the room. And there was someone new who came in, and he was like, "Wow, who is wearing deodorant? Like Axe deodorant." And I was like, "Man, are you serious? I'm wearing frickin', where is it? I was wearing Sospiro Accento, guys. Accento in Italian, Accento by Sospiro, which is a great pineapple heavy floral musky fragrance. So delicious, so nice. And I was kind of offended because he was saying, man, who stinks out the place with Axe deodorant sprays? So that's probably the craziest thing that I have heard over the years. But like I said, I don't really get that much comments on my fragrances. Of course, here and there some people say, "Whoa, you smell great," but those two things really stuck by. I kind of remember them vividly. All right, the next one by the same guy or girl is, do you layer fragrances? I sometimes do. It's not something that I do on a regular basis, but there's some fragrances that I layer, like Tuscan leather I wear with Aventus sometimes. And also, of course, there's fragrances. That's something from your next question. Your thoughts on Molecule 01 and 02. And these two fragrances, Molecule 01 and 02, are basically fragrances that are very easy to use for layering. Yeah, it's back in there. I have only Molecule 01, which is the soft cedar, ISO-E super-ish kind of fragrance. That is very easy to layer with other fragrances. And the Molecule 02 is, of course, Ambroxan. Very sweet. It's something that you find in a lot of designer fragrances nowadays, as for instance, Dior Sauvage. My thoughts on these fragrances, guys, this is, yeah. These are two fragrances that are not really fragrances in the sense that they don't have too much creativity behind it. They're just simplistic, and they serve a certain purpose. I don't have any specific feelings toward them. Like I said, I enjoy the Molecule 01. I wouldn't buy the Molecule 02 because I feel like it wouldn't really add something to other fragrances if the note of Ambroxan is not in the composition. All right, and then the last question is, how do you watch the majority of the fragrance reviews on YouTube? Well, mostly I'm on my phone. I don't really go sit at my computer or at my desktop for too long. That's basically the thing I use the most for, of course, creating these YouTube videos, editing them and uploading them and so on. And maybe doing some more intensive stuff. But most of the day, I'm just using my phone for whatever it is, and that's also including watching YouTube videos. All right, so thank you for your questions. Next one is by Aidan Shaw, and he asks me, would you wear a fragrance you dislike but others are crazy about? LOL, I'm looking at you, Dior Sauvage. I can be quite clear on that question, and that's a definite no. I don't wear fragrances I personally dislike, and I also don't like to wear fragrances to please other people. And if you dislike Dior Sauvage, don't wear it. Wear something else. There's so many great fragrances out there that also a lot of people like. Don't wear what people tell you to wear. Wear what you want to wear for yourself. Next question by 32 Rojo. And this question is, what are your favorite date or romantic fragrances? I'll put a card here in the corner because I did a video on top Valentine fragrances back in the day. It's maybe a topic that I should revisit on this channel, but for now I'm going to refer you to the existing video on this channel. Feel free to check that one out if you're interested. Next question by It's Q, and the question is, if you had to choose only 3 houses to have fragrances from, which 3 would you choose? Difficult question, really difficult question. Even limiting to 3 houses, it's really difficult because There's so many great houses out there. I'd say Sergio, Guerlain, Creed. I need Aventus. So I'd say Creed. But other than Aventus, I don't really care about Creed all that much. So I'd say I won't count Creed as a house, because I only pick one fragrance, and I would snoop in Rojadov, because Rojadov also has a lot of great fragrances. So that's not really an answer to your question, right? You asked for 3 houses and I'm saying 4, but I just can't narrow it down. Okay, next question. Amias Veil asks me, what are some of the strangest, funniest reactions to fragrances you've worn? I kind of covered this in the beginning of this video with my stories about co-workers' reactions, so I hope that suffices to your question, but thank you for asking that question, Amias Veil. Next one by DC Heaven. And DC Heaven asks, as a Belgian myself, hello, what fragrance would make you think of Belgium? Funny question. I really like it. I've given it some thought. Belgium is kind of known for a couple of things. Of course, you have French fries. You know it. You guys in America know fries as French fries, but Belgium has the best fries in the world. I can say that with a lot of pride. Our fries are truly amazing. So I'm thinking about French fries. I'm also thinking about beer. We have amazing beer in Belgium. And also chocolate. All right, everybody thinks about Switzerland for their chocolate, but Belgium, man, we have some great artisanal made chocolate. And so chocolate as a note is something that you find in some fragrances out there. So I would try not to break something. I'd say this one makes me think about Belgium. This is Sorriso by Perfume Roma. Sorriso has just such a delicious gourmand chocolate note in there. There's also musk and vanilla. Oh yeah, this is out of my collection. This is the one that would make me think of Belgium. So hope that suffices. And then the last question, and I can't really get into that at this point, is by KK or Kiki. I would like to see your house tour, your pet, and your life in general. I'm really flattered that you want to see more about me, and I'm not sure if I'm ready to do this because I'm not comfortable in exposing every little bit of my life, but maybe in the future, who knows, that that I feel like it's time to do a video on the things that you asked me to do. So yeah guys, I have covered each and every one of you asking stuff in the Q&A request video. I hope you really enjoyed this video. This is a video that took quite some time to create, and yeah, I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment if you want to ask me something else. I'll respond in the comment section as usual. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye bye.